The Life of Abraham, a message through the narrative of fulfillment and divine initiative. Introduction. The account of Abraham, found primarily in the book of Genesis, unfolds as a revelation of divine purpose established apart from human effort. His life is not merely a biography, but a theological unveiling, showing how promise precedes performance and how fulfillment is rooted in what God declares rather than what man achieves. 1. The call, a beginning without merit. Abraham emerges in the narrative in Genesis 12 with no prior qualification given. The divine voice calls him out of Ur, not because of demonstrated righteousness, but because of divine intention. Get out of your country, to a land that I will show you. The initiative is entirely God's. The promise is given before any action is taken. Land, nationhood, and blessing are declared realities before they are experienced realities. This establishes a pattern. Inheritance is granted by promise, not earned by obedience. 2. The promise. Established before fulfillment. In Genesis 15, the promise is formalized through covenant. Abraham is shown the stars, an innumerable seed, yet at this moment he remains childless. And he believed the Lord, and it was counted to him as righteousness. Righteousness is not presented as the result of law-keeping or moral attainment, recognition of what God has spoken. The declaration of righteousness occurs in the absence of visible fulfillment, grounding it entirely in divine faithfulness. The covenant. God alone passes through. In Genesis 15, the covenant ceremony is striking. The divided animals are laid out, yet Abraham does not walk between the pieces. Instead, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp pass through. This signifies that the covenant is unilateral. God binds himself to accomplish what he has promised. The fulfillment of the covenant does not depend on Abraham's consistency, but on God's unchanging nature. 4. The tension. Human effort versus divine promise. Genesis 16 introduces Hagar and Ishmael, an attempt to bring about the promise through human reasoning. This moment reveals the contrast between effort-driven fulfillment and promise-driven fulfillment. The narrative does not end with this failure. Instead, the promise remains intact, untouched by human deviation. God reaffirms his word in Genesis 17, demonstrating that the promise is not nullified by missteps. 5. The fulfillment. Isaac as the child of promise. Isaac's birth in Genesis 21 stands as the embodiment of what was spoken. His arrival comes at a time when natural possibility has ceased. Sarah is beyond childbearing years. This underscores that fulfillment is not the result of human capability, but divine power. Isaac is not merely a son. He is the manifestation of a promise that could not be produced by natural means. 6. The offering, a picture of completion. In Genesis 22, Abraham is called to offer Isaac. This moment reveals a deeper dimension. The promise appears to be placed on the altar. Yet provision is made. A ram is given in Isaac's place. The narrative shifts from demand to provision, from sacrifice required to sacrifice supplied. The focus is not on what Abraham gives, but on what God provides. The legacy, promise extending beyond one life. Abraham's life concludes with the promise still unfolding. He does not see the full realization of a great nation or the inheritance of the land in its entirety. Yet the narrative presents him as one who received the promise in its certainty, even if not in its complete visible manifestation during his lifetime. The emphasis remains on the reliability of what was spoken. Conclusion. The life of Abraham reveals a consistent pattern. Promise precedes action. Righteousness is declared, not achieved. Covenant is upheld by God alone. Fulfillment comes through divine provision. His story is not centered on human striving, but on divine completion. It is a narrative where beginning, continuation, and fulfillment all originate from and rest upon the faithfulness of God.